I'm Evan Nappin,
And I'm Teddy Nappin.
and welcome to Gun Lawyer. Hey, Teddy, guess who finally quit smoking?
You quit smoking?
No, the Ayatollah Khomeini.
Oh.
There you go. That's right. Actually, the thing is, we're now in a situation where you may have seen the warnings going out about a seriously increased threat of danger in the homeland for the who knows how many that the Biden administration let in of actual terrorists on the terrorist watch list, and how many unknowns and gotaways and just all those folks that have infiltrated the country that they're warning about sleeper cells, and already starting to see some incidents occurring. And I think it's fair to say that we all need to be very vigilant. And since most of us are folks that are armed, that carry, we become an important element in the defense of our country. And so I want to talk today about practical considerations regarding firearms, carry guns, in New Jersey. So we want to talk about the guns that are appropriate and are really some of the top, most popular carry guns in New Jersey. Now, none of this means these are guns that we're going to talk about that make it that, if you choose to carry any gun that you like, that's fine. None of this is critical of any firearm that you may be carrying. I just want to talk about ones, and it was inspired to talk about this from an article I found in Breitbart. Now, Breitbart's article is the 5 concealed carry guns first-time buyers should consider. And I want to
Number one, gyrojet pistol.
Right, definitely grab that old gyrojet. Oh my God! In case you don't know what a gyrojet is, it was literally a rocket-firing pistol. It launched cartridges or bullets or projectiles, if you will, in a similar way that you fire rockets, not a bullet. So it's actually a gyrojet gun is closer to an Iranian missile launcher, frankly, than a gun. But they were not a commercial success. But they're very collectible and fascinating. You can read more about gyrojets online. I happen to own a gyrojet as an example of a rocket pistol. But no, that's not a gun I would suggest carrying in Jersey. First of all, it's too valuable just to carry. And the ammo is like incredibly hard to find. And each cartridge is very valuable as a collectible in and of itself. But here is from Breitbart. Now, this article is by A.W.R. Hawkins, who's an excellent gun writer. And as he begins the article, he says, with military action in Iran raging and concerns about staying safe stateside, we thought it would be helpful to put together a list of 5 concealed carry guns that first-time buyers should consider. So I'm going to, and that's a good thought right now, what we're dealing with, and I'm going to modify from what he's talking about is just carry guns in Jersey, whether you're first time or not first time, but there are advantages and disadvantages to a number of the firearms that they're putting out. And we have to put in the concerns that we have in Jersey. So one of the primary concerns at the moment in Jersey is, of course, you can't have a magazine that holds over 10 rounds. So the handguns that we're going to carry in Jersey have to have a limitation in the magazine of 10 rounds. Now, that does not include 1 round in the chamber. So in theory, you can have 10 rounds in a magazine and 1 round in the chamber, and you are legal in Jersey for that carry gun. So what happens is there are a number of handguns out there that, of course, are wonderful, wonderful guns that are larger frame and hold normally standard magazine capacity, definitely over 10 rounds. And you can start, with just a Glock 19 that would have the standard magazine of 15 rounds and an excellent carry gun, super popular. But in New Jersey, putting aside, let's just say the Glock 19 happens to fit your hand really well, then I understand that. But in reality, you're carrying a gun that is larger than you necessarily need. But again, if it works for you, that's fine. But it's larger than you necessarily need, which makes it arguably somewhat less concealable. And yet you're being limited in one of the nice features about it is that you could have the increased firepower of 15 rounds, but Jersey stops you from that. So you have to have a 10-round mag in your Glock 19 that's a 9mm. So since Jersey's forcing us to have 10-round mags, why not conform, at least to the degree, of having a much more concealable, but just as deadly, but more concealable handgun that would carry up to the 10 rounds. And in our modern world today, there are a lot of excellent choices of 9mm and other calibers, but 9 is primarily one of the most popular self-defense calibers out there at the moment, that hold 10 rounds but are very compact, very concealable. And the article lists these, and let's talk about some and some others that I'll add in. So they put as a number one the Sig Sauer P365. So the 365 is an excellent carry gun for sure. And it's very compact. And as you know, Sig redesigned or created into the design, they designed a gun around the magazine so that you could have a 10-round magazine and have a gun that is extremely compact. And the P365 is striker fired, and it's about 4.3 inches tall, and about 5.8 inches long, and it weighs in at about 17.8 ounces. And it comes with two 10-round mags. So it's Jersey legal. There's all kinds of, you can get, go MOS, it's set up for that, so you can have your sights, if you get an MOS model. There's many different variations on the P365 that will have features that may fit you better. It's a proven gun. So definitely one of the most popular and definitely a good choice for New Jersey. The next gun in the article is the Glock 43X, and that's also one of the most popular pistols in America. It's single stack, so what that means is the magazine loads one round on top of the other, as opposed to the Sig 365, which is kind of that double stack, right, where the rounds are kind of side by side in the magazine, filling it up as a box, whereas Glock is single or straight down in the line. And it does have a 10-round mag, and the Glock is somewhat slightly larger. It's about 6.5 inches long, and it's about 1.1 inches in width, and about 5.04 inches in its height and tall. And it weighs in at about 18.7, so it's a little slightly heavier, slightly larger than the 365, but very popular, very concealable, and it has a 10-round magazine. Now, keep in mind that it's possible for any of these guns, the SIG or any of these two, of course, have magazines that hold more than 10, but they're essentially made from their creation as a 10-round gun, and that's important in Jersey because at the moment, and hopefully this will go away, but at the moment we're restricted to that. So having the concealable ability of being very, very stealthy and not being made, let's say, as being a carrier because you're concealing a firearm so well, less likely to have printing and other issues where it can be kind of signaled to folks that you might be carrying. which is a good way to think when dealing with New Jersey, because even though we have a carry permit, even though we're legal to carry, discretion is still the word of the day. So you want to remain discreet. Your best bet is for no one to know you're carrying in Jersey, and that is both the cops and the criminals, because we need to be discreet, because we've experienced many times through the office individuals where their gun is somehow ID'd on the person, and even though they're legal, maybe their shirt showed for a brief second, which the law actually understands can happen. It's not a crime when that happens, but next thing you know, police are called about somebody carrying a gun or they believe has a gun, and it can escalate into all kinds of problems. So the idea in Jersey is to be able to be armed and be armed to the max that the law allows us to be, but to keep the concealability factor and the discretion and discreetness very tight. We are not an open carry state, and we want to make it so that that firearm gives you a tactical edge in the fact that should you need it, the use of it is to a certain degree giving you the advantage of surprise. So keep that in mind, and so these guns are fitting that bill very nicely. Now, the article also talks about the CZ-P-10C, which is a ported pistol, also a compact gun, also it has the 10-round magazine, and the CZ is interesting because the German army actually adopted pistol model, and so it has a certain definite reliability, and a lot of folks like the ergonomics, but it too is polymer and in the same kind of class as the 365 and the 43X. Again, it's a good choice for Jersey, should you like that gun. Now, the article talks about the Palmetto Dagger. Now, Palmetto is a decent gun for the money, and let me tell you, they're a bargain. That's for sure. They are budget oriented, but they are, they shoot. They're reliable. They work, and such. But the Palmetto Dagger is more along the lines of a Glock 19, and you can get a 10-round mag for it, and maybe you want the slightly, somewhat larger frame, as that what we might call a medium frame. But in terms of it, you can get more concealable with the other guns we've been talking about, but it's still a good gun out there. It's a nice package, especially for the money, and Palmetto is, puts out a gun that really is a bit of a bargain, honestly, for what they're offering. But you don't have the same compactness as the other firearms that offer. And the fifth gun talked about in the article is a Ruger LCR polymer revolver. So that is a revolver similar to essentially a snub nose 38, but in polymer it still can handle the plus P 38. Some folks might prefer a revolver to a semi-auto pistol. Of course, the rounds get less. You're talking here about a 5-shot and such, but it is an excellent firearm for what it is. And if you want a wheel gun for its simplicity, for its doesn't leave cartridge cases lying around or whatever, revolver may be your way to go. Now, in terms of that type of revolver, the Ruger is a good gun, but I happen to have a personal love of the J-frame Smiths, of the Smith & Wesson, J-frame class, which includes the model, the original, of course, the 36 or the Chief Special, and we get into all the variations of on the J-frame, on that J-frame frame. And there's a lot of other snub 38s out there that Smith makes that would also fill the bill. These revolvers are affectionately known as pocket rockets, and they're good guns. So if you're a revolver person, you're looking for something concealable, right? There are plenty of great revolvers, but we're talking concealability, then this is a classic, and the Ruger and the Smith would fit that bill in snub-nose 38 and give you
I
the
would say,
features that a revolver offers.
if the whole,
Yeah.
I would say for the whole article, it's supposed to be the idea of people, like, this is your first gun to buy. Like, that was kind of the main focus. I kind
Right.
of lean off of, for Ruger, like, the very first revolver I ever got, the GP 100. That was very,
Well,
like, what
yeah,
you kind of learn to work with and
right.
teach yourself.
And revolvers are good for that, but here, the article in Breitbart is about, like, your first gun and getting into that. I get it. But what I'm looking at here is taking this article and talking about not necessarily that it's your first gun, but looking at guns that meet the criteria under Jersey law that are effective for carry that can get you the concealability. And yeah, but there are bigger revolvers that can fire even more powerful, so then you can bump up easier to 357, get a 4-inch barrel or a 6-inch barrel revolver, have a full-size frame, really be able to put some powerful loads, get some great target shooting and great experience, and there's something to be said for that. But when it comes to carry, we're looking for the concealability and the stopping power, and we're looking for ability to conform to Jersey law and remain discreet. And one of the other guns that I would like to talk about that is not mentioned in the article, but one that I happen to particularly like, is the Shadow Systems CR 920 Elite. So if you haven't seen a Shadow Systems CR 920, that gun is pricier for sure, but it is really a great gun, and it is 9mm well. It has 10-round mag, so it fits the bill for Jersey. They have a lot of features on it that kind of make it a highly upgraded Glock 43X. To be honest, it's very similar in the size, and in fact, the holsters that would take a Glock 43X will actually work perfectly with a Shadow Systems CR 920. So it's something to consider, and if you ever had a chance to shoot Shadow Systems, you'll know what I'm talking about. So it is definitely a bit of an upgrade, and a gun that I personally like. But all these guns will be able to serve you well and be able to protect you and your loved ones, and you can know that you can carry them lawfully under Jersey law with your permit to carry, and stay concealed and discreet in your carry. And that's the way we as New Jersey gun carriers need to be. So this is something to consider when talking about guns that you carry. And again, there's so many other great handguns, great calibers. None of this is saying that any of these are any better than anybody else's. You have to look at your needs and what you want, what your budget, and what you can afford. But stick to the key principles, and that is that you practice, that you shoot it well, that you exercise safety, that you know the laws, that you stick to being discreet. Discretion is key in Jersey, so that you don't end up having to call me, even though you are 100% innocent, but now we have to deal with a legal situation. And our best bet is to do what I'm saying, be discreet, and protect yourself in that manner. Hey, let me.
Or have them all put in for the CMP, and you can carry a piece of history with yourself.
Yeah, right. Well, if you want to get a
Everyone
nice
gets a
1911, we're definitely up in the game here, and nothing wrong with carrying a 1911, but it is definitely a much larger firearm, and very powerful, very reliable. Love my 1911s. Who doesn't? But this is a different way of thinking when it's coming to protecting yourself. And of course, you still can max out to the 10 rounds easily with this in a compact package. So that's what makes these nice. And if you want to check out any of these guns and you want to get your practice and your training and even your certifications? Well, we know no place better than We Shoot. We Shoot is a gun range in Lakewood. That's where Teddy and I shoot. That's where we got our certification. They have guns there that you can try. They'll be able to set you up with your perfect concealed carry gun, get you the training, help you get your license as well by getting the qualifications that you need. And this is also part of the package. So when you want to become a defender and stay a defender, you need to have the training. You need to have a place to practice, a place to shoot. And We Shoot does that very thing. They're an indoor range in Lakewood, conveniently off the Parkway. Great place right there in central Jersey. So you want to check out WeShootUSA.com. You can go to their website, and they will absolutely be able to set you up perfectly with a firearm that meets your needs, especially in this environment where we are at war with the number one sponsor of terror. And folks, I would find it hard to believe that they have not preempted our ability to defend ourselves by having sleeper cells and other agents that are in our country that we should expect will be looking to wreak havoc and chaos. And, this was done under with the eyes closed of the Biden administration primarily. And, President Trump for trying to clean up that mess that allowed that to happen. And he's currently we're engaged in changing the world, right? Changing the world where we can make such a huge difference. And it's finally president, I've been, as many of you have, lived through 47 years of Iranian Islamic fundamentalism, terror, and all the things that it brought upon us. And it may finally be coming to an end. But it isn't over yet, and it may very well come down to your ability and my ability, our ability to defend ourselves right here at home. And luckily, the expansion of our ability to carry because of Bruin and forcing the issuance of carry permits gives us this opportunity to be able to do something that, a half a dozen years ago, we would not have even been able to do in Jersey. And that's carry to protect ourselves in the face of a national security threat to our homeland. So take advantage of that. Check out We Shoot USA for your firearm needs. I may also mention our good friends at the Association of New Jersey Rifle and Pistol Clubs. They are the state affiliate of the NRA. They are the folks fighting for our rights in Trenton and in the courts, and hopefully they'll get that magazine ban finally overturned. We're looking cautiously optimistic at that, so we'll be able to actually have guns that carry more than 10 rounds. And when that happens, we'll be able to buy larger capacity magazines for our highly concealable 9s that we're currently carrying, and that'll give us even more ability to defend ourselves and our loved ones and our country for that matter. So the association is hard at work. Go to anjrpc.org so you can join, be part of the solution. You'll get email alerts. You'll be told what's shenanigans are going on down in Trenton, what case law changes are taking place. So check out anjrpc.org, the Association of Jersey Rifle and Pistol Clubs. And while you're at it, make sure you pick up a copy of my book, New Jersey Gun Law. It's a Bible of New Jersey gun law. It's over 500 pages, 120 topics, all question and answer. Make sure you have a copy of that book so you can keep your gun rights and not end up in jail and turned into what I call a law-abiding criminal because of New Jersey's insanity of gun laws. We tried to create this very user-friendly manual. Go to evannappen.com, and pick up your copy today. Teddy, what do you have to share with us today in Press Checks?
Well, as you know, press checks are always free, and well, we can all see right now that Trump's Operation Epic Fury is going well. It's already met multiple of the objectives, and frankly, the level of damage that we have just taken out the entire Iranian Navy and the multiple sites they have hit, and taking out not only the Ayatollah's successor, who was there for 7 minutes, just here's your hat, and he's gone. And then the success, it just, their leadership has been toppled, and this really sets the tone and level and power that the US has, and all it took was having someone actually with the will to act. So, just going off of that, I was scrolling through AmmoLand, and I saw a very interesting article that made a good point. And this is by, they just said, the AmmoLand staff. Iran's power vacuum highlights the importance of an armed citizenry. So, they were referencing from the Citizens Committee for Right to Keep and Bear Arms, where they put out a press release talking about how the Iranian people's lack of the most important safeguard of liberty that the Americans possess, the right to keep and bear arms. So the chairman of the group, Alan Gottlieb, Iran does not have the equivalent of our sacred Second Amendment. The Iranian people need it bad. And highlighting to what the founding fathers believed, where the Second Amendment is the safeguard to a tyrannical rule, which everyone can agree Iran was a tyrannical rule. It was a theocracy ran by radical, crazy clerics. That, and I just love every time the left, hands off Iran, free Maduro, like that. It just shows you the level of disingenuousness from that party. But just to highlight the fact for those of you who may be living under a rock, the Iran regime has ruled for more than 4 decades with authoritarianism, suppressing dissidents, jailing critics, killing them also, and slaughtering protesters. They actually were importing in Iraqi militia groups to just start gunning down protesters after Trump had taken out as the protests were breaking out in Iran prior to Epic Fury. So, as was also stated, the symbol and freedom in our nation the symbol and freedom in a nation of slaves is the gun, because it enshrines the ability for the people to keep the government in check. Which, again, I always hear the stupid leftist argument like, oh yeah, you really think your Second Amendment's going to help you against the F-15s or the United military? You give me a break. Every single one of us who were able to carry would be one of the largest standing armies in our country. And also, I love how they make that argument and also say, a unarmed group of protesters about to overthrow the government. So, they keep referencing January 6th like it's a Christmas holiday. But the point being is that the Second Amendment keeps these things in check, because right now that was the whole push, was to have the people rise up against their oppressors. Imagine what would have happened if all the Iranian people actually had access to firearms. And I actually pulled the laws, so went and see okay, what was it like? What were the ways of getting people to, if you wanted to buy a gun and you were an Iranian citizen in Iran, what would you do? And it seems they've modeled themselves off of New Jersey, as you have to obtain a gun license in Iran. It involves several steps, including a background check, psychological examination, firearm safety course. You have to apply for your gun permit at your local police station. They have to do criminal record, military service status, complete a psychological evaluation to ensure mental stability, taking a firearm safety course and passing a written practical exam, pay your fees, of course, and waiting to approve. So if you do everything else, you have to be approved by higher authorities, which could take several months. And,
it isn't that far from what Jersey actually requires. Jersey is virtually the Iranian totalitarian state of gun laws.
Yeah, and also it is illegal to possess a firearm without the proper licensing, which is punishable by imprisonment and fines. Carrying a firearm without a license is punishable up to 3 years in prison. And
Oh, wait,
using
only
firearm-
3 years.
I
See, in
know,
Jersey,
right?
you can go for 10 years. So they're actually a little more reasonable in Iran than in New Jersey.
Yeah. And also, this is something that people need to remember. We are a nation of firearms are enshrined in our culture. They cannot take that away as much as the left tried to propagandize us out of it. To give you a perspective, in Iran, this is cited from a gunpolicy.org, in 2017, it was about 3.5 firearms per 100 residents, as opposed to in 2017, there are 120 firearms per 100 residents in the United States, and that was in 2017. So imagine actually having the accessibility for firearms, actually having the ability to rise up if you ever needed to. That's why you have all the leftists right now flocking to gun shops
Right.
trying to buy firearms.
Well, the
'cause they're
latest
worried of tyrannical rule.
numbers, we have over 500 million privately owned firearms in America. Yep, over
We gotta get
500
those
million
numbers
is the
up.
new number. I agree.
Yeah.
Let's hit that 1 billion mark. Let's
and
work on it, folks.
This
Come on.
isn't, and also this isn't a vacuum. Like when you look at other dictatorships, this is the first step. This is what they do. You have to disarm the populace because they do not want any rising up, any resistance groups or militias when you're being an authoritarian regime. And cut to another one of Trump's highlights of Venezuela. What did you under the Venezuelan government, another authoritarian regime, where they also made it nearly impossible to get firearms, where you could apply for a license, but to the Venezuelan armed forces. Of course, you need a background check, training requirements, inspections. But here's the kicker. In the 2012, Venezuelan government suspends all legal firearm sales to private citizens.
Why would they do that?
Yeah, I wonder why. Their words, combating criminal organizations and preventing weapons from falling into the wrong hands. Which
It wouldn't happen to do with who was in power politically at that time.
The former leader Maduro, no guar. But and also they try to make there's no explicit law banning firearm ownership, just a suspension on firearms to private citizens.
Well, that's
as long as
because
you
they're
have the
so
proper regulation.
reasonable.
I know, they're so reasonable. And they are required to register all their firearms with the government. I wonder why. It's the disingenuousness on the left for why the Second Amendment is so important.
Well, let's answer that question for folks, and that's because the registration leads to the confiscation. And that's what registration is all about. Why do we fight registration? Because it is a step toward confiscation. And then after confiscation comes the political reality of a extermination, and we've seen every major Holocaust preceded by these very steps when it comes to private ownership of firearms.
Yeah, and cut to any of the European countries that have just disarmed themselves. Cut to the United Kingdom with their rapes going from 12,000 a year to 70,000 a year.
I mean, there's a reason we did Lend-Lease and a reason why they put ads in the American Rifleman to please send guns to England, because they even disarmed themselves in the face of having to face a Nazi terror. And here, they don't learn. They don't learn from their prior mistakes. They continuously repeat them.
Well, when they were good and ready, they were done with Winston Churchill, and they said, "Oh, we don't need you anymore." That's how it always goes. And then when things come around, they're going to need a Churchill, and maybe they might learn their lesson this time. But for now, the left, the gun control will forever be the losing argument on the left. Mm-hmm. That is a fact. They will occasionally jump out whenever there's a mass shooting, But in this point in time, that issue is effectively won on our side. We have to be vigilant though, because they always try to sneak things in and go off unfortunately, the emotional side of our country, who just do not think logically and actually apply and try to think, oh, what would happen if we take away all these firearms? Is this actually going to solve the problem?
Well, in Iran, it's a shame that people aren't armed because they'd be able to take action now, especially with the efforts that the U.S. has already done to their infrastructure, militarily and politically, right?
I want the CIA to do the black book and just start dropping them like the leaflets, the ways how to make the gun out of the soup can.
Right.
Yeah, or
Right.
the traps you could make where it was literally like, what is it, like use like you make a bomb out of like piss and aspirin.
True. Well, Teddy, I want to talk about our very important segment of GoFu. Now, the GoFu is the gun owner F-up, and the reason we talk about this is it's expensive lessons that others have endured that you get to learn very reasonably. You get to learn it for free from Gun Lawyer Radio. So this week, I want to talk about, and these are actual cases that come through our office that we see all the time, and this has to do with lost or stolen firearm in New Jersey. You need to know that New Jersey has a law that if your firearm is lost or stolen, you must report it to local law enforcement within 36 hours. So you have a 36-hour window to report lost or stolen firearm, and you must report it to the chief law enforcement officer of the municipality where the theft occurred, or if there's no local police, to the state police. Now, once you report a gun as stolen or lost, there can be further ramifications on you, and I want to talk about the ramifications. If you fail to report, let's keep this in mind, if you fail to report a stolen gun, it is a civil penalty of $500 for the first offense. So it is technically not a crime. It's not necessarily, it's quasi-criminal for failing to report the stolen firearm. It's a civil penalty of $500 for the first offense and $1,000 for subsequent offenses. So your failure to report puts you in that category. So it's not as if there is a potential jail sentence if you fail to report. Now, this doesn't mean you shouldn't report necessarily, but I'm telling you what the actual penalty is. So what happens when you report? Well, when you report, you need to provide make and model and serial number, but then we see ramifications from the reporting where then they may try to move, they being the government, to take your gun license, revoke your carry permit, revoke your firearms ID card, because they try to then claim that you fall under the category of public health, safety, welfare as a danger or problem under that category. And that is because you didn't exercise proper care and had your gun stolen, which is, of course, how can, the actions of a third party, being the thief, end up taking not just your gun, but your gun rights. But New Jersey never misses an opportunity to do that. So you need to keep in mind that even though the law requires a reporting, you may end up from the reporting having to have a battle over keeping your firearm licensing. If this happens to you where you believe a gun is lost or stolen, the best thing to do is call an attorney right away and work through the very specific issues that may present in your case, because how it got stolen, how it gets reported as stolen, if you choose to report it as stolen, these are all issues that you want to have attorney-client confidentiality and discuss. because there can be escalation and there can be ramifications. And then if there's a failure to report, of course, the gun comes up used in a crime. What are the implications from that? There's a whole array of issues that need to be considered if you are dealing with a lost or stolen firearm. This is Evan Nappen and Teddy Nappen reminding you that gun laws don't protect honest citizens from criminals. They protect criminals from honest citizens.
Gun Lawyer is a Counterthink media production. The music used in this broadcast was managed by Cosmo Music, New York, New York. Reach us by emailing evan@gun.lawyer. The information and opinions in this broadcast do not constitute legal advice. Consult a licensed attorney in your state.